Stephen A., I'll start with you first. Who's responsible for the Packers' loss?
Well, the biggest person responsible for the Green Bay Packers' loss is Colin Kaepernick. The fact of the matter is that 3rd and 8, when he ended up scrambling for 11 yards, he was running the football effectively all day long. And as I had anticipated and predicted on several occasions throughout this season when the San Francisco 49ers appeared to be struggling offensively, Skip Bayless, I told you that the best was yet to come from Colin Kaepernick. I thought he was being held back and a bit restricted by Harbaugh and the offensive coordinator. I thought once playoff time rolled around, you would see Colin Kaepernick really be himself, meaning that he would be allowed to be improvisational, a bit, just ad-libbing throughout the game, using his legs more so than his arm, particularly in inclement weather. Something like that was going to be incredibly pivotal because on a game like yesterday, I mean, even if you're spiraling the ball and throwing it on target, it's as hard as a rock, it's cold, you're not yourself. The inclement weather, the conditions themselves, what was it, -12 or whatever the case may be. I mean, when you take in the wind chill factor into consideration, I mean, the fact is that you were going to need to run the football effectively. And Ron Jaworski had made a very bold prediction prior to the game when I was watching him on TV the other day, and he was talking about how Colin Kaepernick would rush for more yards than Frank Gore. And sure enough, that actually ended up happening. When you look at what they rushed for, Kaepernick ran for 98 yards, Frank Gore ran for 66 yards. But in the end, what it comes down to, again, is this. Aaron Rodgers did not play his best game. Nobody's going to deny that. The Green Bay Packers didn't play their best game offensively. Nobody's going to deny that. Their defense played considerably better than I had ever anticipated Green Bay's defense would play. No one can deny that. But still in all, with the weapons, with Crabtree having a big-time game, with Vernon Davis and those boys on the field with him, with Anquan Bolden, Colin Kaepernick utilized all of those assets at his disposal and used it as a decoy to run the football when all else failed and when it was necessary. And that is what propelled the San Francisco 49ers to the divisional playoff round against Carolina this upcoming weekend.
As they say in the business we used to be in, the newspaper business, you just buried the lead. Remember that? Burying the lead?
Yes.
The lead was that Colin Kaepernick outplayed the bad man that used to be Aaron Rodgers.
Please.
If I have to delegate responsibility for this loss, I'm going to have to dump all of it on that bad man that used to be Aaron Rodgers. I was shocked by what I did not see from the guy you keep telling me is the best quarterback in pro football.
He is.
Wait a minute. There was no Carlos Rogers, a starting cornerback for the San Francisco 49ers, and his backup, Eric Wright, could only play special teams because he hurt himself in practice last week. So they're down, the 49ers, 2 cornerbacks, and Aaron Rodgers at home in a playoff game managed to throw for only 177 yards. And the conditions were much better than I anticipated. I was looking for wind chill of like -30. That's what was predicted 2 days before the game. -10 or 12, it looked playable. It looked throwable. It looked catchable. Crabtree was catching balls all over the place, like it was 80 degrees. And I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers, that bad man, and a lot of times he was just B-A-D bad. There was no A in that name. Aaron Rodgers threw for only 177 yards and could only find Randall Cobb twice in the game? Are you serious? And again, this is against a defense that's down a little bit. And he could only find James Jones twice. Now, James Jones did have one key drop in the game in the fourth quarter. I will give you that.
Right.
Corliss, the tight end, I don't think he's a great player, but he had 6 big catches against Dallas. He catches 1 ball, and that kid Jared Boykin, who turned into quasi-star for them coming from nowhere, caught 0 balls in the game. I'm sorry. Aaron Rodgers looked a little off all day long to me. And I'm grading him by the high standards because I've been told 1,000 times on this show, haven't I?
Yeah.
That he is the best quarterback in pro football.
He's a bad man.
So now I got to conclude. Here's my bottom line takeaway from what I saw yesterday on the frozen tundra, Lambeau Field. If Tom Brady had been the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers would still be afloat and advancing in the playoffs because that was exactly the kind of game that a cold weather specialist Tom Brady would have won. And clearly, he is the best quarterback in pro football. He's proven it all year long. He proves it in cold weather again and again and again. He'll prove it next weekend and next weekend as they advance to the Super Bowl. I'm back to my argument was made. And all I needed to know was that last week, you didn't pick the bad man to win this game.
So
you picked the 49ers.
So what? So what?
There's
been many occasions where I thought, listen, I think that Tom Brady's a bad man. I picked him to lose. I think that Peyton Manning's the best quarterback in football right now. You
agree?
Listen, I'm saying there have been times when I thought he's the best quarterback in football and I thought he'd lose. He's clearly having the best season. I don't know if he'll win the Super Bowl.
Tom Brady had the best season. Come on.
No, I think it's Peyton Manning.
Oh,
but here's whatever. I'm not going to argue with you about that. We got plenty of time to get into that. The point that I'm trying to make to you, however, is just because I believe that Aaron Rodgers is a bad man and he's the best quarterback in football, even though that title belonged this year to Peyton Manning, the fact of the matter is that you're ignoring what you're taking into consideration. You talked about what Corliss did. You talked about what Jordy Nelson has done. You've talked about what the expectations were because of the way the Green Bay Packers performed against other individuals. But look at the defenses that you brought up. This is the San Francisco 49ers defense we're talking about here. And yes, Crabtree did catch 8 catches for 125 yards, but he was playing against Green Bay's defense. Green Bay's defense is not on the same level as San Francisco's defense. And let's keep that in mind. You can sit there and talk about the bodies falling and then the guys that they used to replace them, but in the end, there are a bunch of studs. Aaron Rodgers was sacked 4 times. They were putting pressure on him for a majority of yesterday afternoon. They were in his face. They had the other dudes on lockdown, and in the end, you are playing against a better team. That is the difference. So you can give me Tom Brady all you want to, Peyton Manning all you want to, or whatever the case may be. But in the end, the San Francisco 49ers offense, even though Green Bay played well yesterday, they have a much easier task going up against Green Bay's defense than Green Bay's offense had going up against the San Francisco 49ers defense. They're not in the same league.